is given to you. You know what I'm saying? Your life wouldn't be the way that is. Now you're saying to the world that I'm happy. Well, you're lying to yourself. You're not happy. That's why people are saying that money doesn't buy happiness. Well, it's not about money here. It's about what you have here. You know what I mean? When you were boyfriends and girlfriends, you didn't want to wait. What do? You go out there, you start doing things that you're supposed to do when you're married. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of you, like I said, you need to get my books so you can read them. Like I said, you're doing because you follow somebody else. You have no clue whether what you're doing was right or wrong. But for some of you, you know that. You know what I'm talking about. But you do it anyway. Why? Because you want to be happy. Some of the women, you give excuses. Oh, if I don't do this, the young kids. Oh, if I don't do this, they're not going to love me. They're going to leave me. They're not going to. So now what do you do? Because you want to be loved, you give yourself. And then the next few weeks, or you know what? I think we should go a different way. I don't think it's working out for me. So what can you do? You can't go back. And then besides, the best thing about this, that's really cool. I have never seen any woman or man drag somebody, a boyfriend or girlfriend, to the court, sue them because they have slept with them. Never. Never happened. So whatever you gave to the guy during the course that you were boyfriend and girlfriends, right? You can't get it back. You follow what I'm saying? You can't get it back. It's there. Your life is in the path of destruction there. Now, if another guy, that's the reason why another guy, when it comes to your life, they assume that you already been, let's say you're 20 years old, or you're 22 or 25. They assume that you already been sexually active. They assume that. Because you see, most of the marriages right now, you see today, you see two people come together, right? They're not virgin. Even the ones that are married, they're not virgin. They're married to each other. They've already been involved. Some of them, they're married with 2 or 3 kids. They already have that. You follow? That's not the way the program was. The program was not for you to do that. It's supposed to be, what can you talk about marital bliss? You will never experience that. The reason being because you get to a point right now, what was forbidden for you, just like we see in the Garden of Eden, God says, okay, do not go near the tree. Do not, touch it. Don't eat it. But what now? Can we talk about what God was talking about before that? We cannot, because we're on the other side of that. There's no way we can experience what God wanted for us. We can only think about it in the head. And I think women, specifically, you are in a position of, like I said, you got to get this book. I wish I had that copy with me today. Things to Know Before Marriage. You got to get this book. You follow? So that way you can prepare yourself for some of the things of this life. If you want to get married, you can't just be playing out there doing whatever you want and then come to God in marriage. By the way, who instituted marriage anyway? Wasn't you? It's not a social thing. It's a spiritual thing. You have nothing to do about God's program, and then you want to get into marriage. Where do you get this idea of marriage? See, so boyfriend and girlfriend is supposed to stay away from each other until, not touching, not to watch, not to see anything about the other persons. So you got to keep the suspense going, in your life. When the day the great reveal comes in, specifically the image you see when you stand before your parents and friends when the guy unveil you. That's the idea here. Something that you were going to do for the first time. Now, there are things you need to talk about. Okay, I'm not giving kind of like a marital, counseling here. But there are things you need to talk about before you get into that marriage. Don't let it be a surprise for that person. If you have like I said, you got to get my book, Things to Know Before Marriage. I have talked about that. There's a story in there. You don't want a person to, to be surprised about, some things that they should have known before they get into that relationship with you. But it's not to find out, by, unveiling things. The things you need to say, verbally express it, so that we all can be in the same agreement about this thing. Not get into it, you discover it on your own because it was kept, away from you. No, we're not talking about that. And so this is a type of pornography also, because you do it out of law, out of your boundary. It may not be exposed to the world, but it's exposed to you. Like I said, you cannot call or sue somebody to because that person slept with you. You cannot do that, because you're the one giving your body to that person. After that, you can't just say, "Oh, that person take away my virginity." No, you can't go sue that person. How much is that worth to you? If it really worth something, you wouldn't give it that way. You would have waited for the right time, the right moment, the right place. Because it didn't mean anything to you, that's why you gave it. You think like you want to know. The pleasure. In this book, I have told a story about a co-worker that I have. One day just walked at work and say, "Okay, hey, I lost my virginity." As if it's something I needed to know. And then when she said that to me, and he looked at my face and said, "Oh no, it wasn't last night. It was when I turned, 18. At the time, he was about like 21 years old, something." See, he said, now every time I've been really, restricted, now I'm free to do whatever I want because I'm 18. And then on her 18th birthday, she gave it away. Why you do that? A lot of people are thinking that way. When you give yourself away, you give it to the right person, to the person that deserves it. The person is going to be with you for the rest of your life. Because like I'm telling you right now, if you've been sleeping around with somebody that's not your husband or your wife, my friend, there's no guarantee that you're going to marry this person. And that's not only that, this is unholy before God. Okay? So you got to be careful. It's not about like religion. Religion can't do anything about that. It's not about, trying to make you feel better than others. And I think like a lot of people out there in this world, they're a victim of what I'm saying. You've been tricked, you've been coerced, you've been seduced into doing this thing before your time. We're not going to be talking about this today. Some of you have been raped, in that condition, and so you lost this in a way that you were not intended, and so this is always going to be a scar, a brutal kind of scar in your life that you cannot shake it off. You never, only by the grace of God you live. That can actually destroy your whole fabric of the person, ever love another person ever again. And then let alone to give yourself to another person later on who probably love you unconditionally. Very difficult, And so I'm talking about the responsibility you have not to fall into that sin, because sin from the beginning, the sin of sexual sin stem from there. It's gonna take you to places that you don't want to be. Create that problem for you, destroy your life before it begins. And you're going to see all kinds of problems happening in your life should the time come, for you to get married. So the Bible encourages you to beseech you, brethren, to present yourself as, your bodies as living sacrifice, wholly accepted unto God, which is your reasonable service. If you can do that, my friend, you find deliverance, you find, peace, and you find grace, and you find, again, a word, a path of life in a holy way. You cannot go back into doing this. Okay? Besides, boyfriends and girlfriends are supposed to be involved in anything type of sexual activities. Some of you, you're talking about, well, we know We don't do the sexual act, per se, but we enjoy ourselves. We satisfy ourselves. How do you do that? You do touching each other and everything, and you do all type of stuff. No, not to get involved in any type of things. These are, I would say, perverted way. I don't want to be too explicit. You don't want to get involved in those kind of stuff. So let's see exactly what the Bible says. We're going to read some verses here. And then we're going to continue in this. We're going to go to the Old Testament, the book of Leviticus now. And so we're going to read 2 chapters of the book of Leviticus. I think it's the 3rd book in the Bible, I believe. I'm going to start... we're going to go to Leviticus chapter 18. And then, because it's important that I read those verses to see about, we're talking about exposing yourself to the nakedness of another person. God forbid that. Okay? It's important. Now, before I go to Leviticus chapter 18, let me read for you Leviticus chapter 19, verses 1 and 2. It says, "And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, and say unto them, Ye shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy." See, the whole reason that I'm talking to you right here is because of the holiness of God. God is holy. We must be also holy before Him. Now, Leviticus chapter number 18, verses 4 through 30. Here's what it says. Just listen as I'm reading for you. I'm going to go really fast because it's a long way to go, 4 through 30. I will leave for you to read it, but the thing is, it wouldn't make sense if you don't hear it right now. "Ye shall do my judgments and keep my ordinances to walk therein. I am the Lord your God. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes, and my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. I am the Lord. None of you shall approach to any that is near akin to him, to uncover their nakedness. I am the Lord. The nakedness of thy father or the nakedness of thy mother shalt thou not uncover. She is thy mother, thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. The nakedness of thy father's wife shalt thou not uncover. It is thy father's nakedness. The nakedness of thy sister and the daughter of thy father, or daughter of thy mother, whether she be born at home or born abroad, even the nakedness thou shalt not uncover. The nakedness of thy son's daughter, or of thy daughter's daughter, even their nakedness thou shalt not uncover, for theirs is thy own nakedness. Verse 11, the nakedness of thy father's wife's daughter, begotten of thy father, she is thy sister, thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy father's sister. She is thy father's near kinswoman. Verse 13, thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy mother's sister, for she is thy mother's. Verse 14, thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy father's brother. Thou shalt not approach to his wife, she is thine aunt. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy daughter-in-law. She is thy son's wife. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy brother's wife. It is thy brother's nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of a woman and her daughter, neither shalt thou take her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter to uncover her nakedness, for they are her near kinswomen. It is wickedness. Verse 18. Neither shalt thou take a wife to her sister, to vex her, to uncover her nakedness beside the other in her lifetime. Also thou shalt not approach unto a woman to uncover her nakedness, as long as she is put apart for her uncleanness. Verse 20, moreover, thou shalt not lie carnally with thy neighbor's wife to defile thyself with her. Thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech, neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord. Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination. My goodness, guys, you got to follow this. Okay? Verse 22 says, thou shalt not lie with mankind as womankind. It is abomination. Verse 23, neither shalt thou lie with any beast to defile thyself therewith, neither shall any woman stand before a beast to lie down thereunto. It is confusion. Defile not ye yourself in any of these things, for in all these the nations are defiled, which are cast out before you. Verse 25, and the land is defiled, therefore I do visit the iniquity thereof upon it, and the land itself vomiteth out her inhabitants. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgment, and shall not commit any of these abominations, neither any of your own nation, nor any stranger that sojourneth among you. For all these abominations have the men and of the land done, which were before you, and the land is defiled, that the land spew not you out also when ye defile it, as it spewed out the nations that were before you. For whatsoever shall commit, say, of these abominations, even the souls that commit them shall be cut off from among their people. Therefore shall ye keep mine ordinance of these abominable customs, which were committed before you, and that ye defile not yourself therein. I am the Lord your God. Now I'm going to read Leviticus chapter 20. In Leviticus chapter 20, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm going to speak some of them, and then I'm going to start from verse 7 and then 10 to 22. Okay, so I'm going to go verse 7, and then verse 10 to 22. Verse 7 of Leviticus 20 says, sanctify yourself therefore, and be ye holy, for I am the Lord your God. Repeat that again, the same one that says in chapter 19. Now verse 10, and the man that committeth adultery with another man's wife, even he that committed adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death. And the man that lieth with his father's wife hath uncovered his father's nakedness, both of them that surely be put to death, shall surely be put to death. The blood shall be upon them. And if a man lie with his daughter-in-law, both of them shall surely be put to death. They have wrought confusion, their blood shall be upon them. You see what I said? They have wrought confusion. That means what is made, create, confusion here. See, can you understand this? This is what God called confusion. Can you imagine the man with the man? How much confusion that can be? A woman with women. That's what it says. Verse 13, if a man also lie with mankind, as he lieth with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination, they shall surely be put to death, their blood shall be in their hand. And if the man take a wife, and her mother, it is wickedness, they shall be burned with fire, both he and they, that there be no wickedness among you. And if a man lie with a beast, he shall surely be put to death, and he shall slay the beasts. And if a woman approach unto any beast and lie down thereto, thou shalt kill the woman and the beast. They shall surely be put to death, their blood shall be put to them. And if a man shall take his sister, his father's daughter, or his mother's daughter, and see her nakedness, and she see his nakedness, it is a wicked thing, and they shall be cut off in the sight of the people. He have uncovered his sister's nakedness, he shall bear his iniquity. Verse 18, and if a man shall lie with a woman, having her sickness, and shall uncover her nakedness, he shall discover her fountain, and she have uncovered the fountain of her blood, and both of them shall be cut off from among their people. Verse 19, and thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy mother's sister, nor thy father's sister, for they uncover his near kin, they shall bear their iniquity. And if a man shall lie with his uncle's wife, he have uncovered his uncle's nakedness, they shall bear their sin, they shall die childless. And so forth until you get to verse 27. Okay, 22, 21. And if a man shall take his brother's wife and his unclean thing, and he haven't covered his brother's nakedness, they shall be childless. Verse 22, he shall therefore keep all my statutes and all my judgments, and do them, that the land whither I bring you to dwell therein spew you not out. You see, the context of those chapters was God addressing to the children of Israel, when you moving him away from the Egyptians' bondage there. So now they are ready to go to live their lives as free people. So God is giving them precepts and ordinances, things that they need to stay away from in order to be separated unto him. So my friend, this is actually the same context here. God is always holy. He always requires holiness. So your holiness is going to come based on the obedience that you put in God's word. So now, some of you might say, this is not for me. Okay, you're free to do that because you're adult. Like I've said, you have the choice. You can do whatever you decide to want to do. But I'm just teaching you right now the idea of holiness, abstinence. For those of you who wish to get married but you're not married yet, you're not supposed to uncover what's not permitted for you to uncover it. There will be a time. You can wait for a little bit longer. You understand? You don't even know if the person you're gonna be, if you are in love with that person, so to speak, or if you are compatible. Okay, you got to be careful with that. So you don't try to eat something and then you spew it afterwards. You want to savor it. You want to to enjoy it. So wait, take your time. Don't get hasty here. There's no way for you. And then if God is already have planned for you to be married, wait on God. Now, speaking all of this, why are we talking about this? You must know why. It is because such a thing, pornography, exists in our world. And such a thing is another form of sexual perversion. That's what we're talking about, that. First of all, it exists in our world. We know that. All the things that I just read from the Bible, when we get to the place, we're talking about bestiality, another form of sexual perversion, where you see, women sleep with beasts and men with beasts and everything. You see, as I read that, these are forbidden, to do. We're not supposed to be involved with animals. There's, I don't understand. But the thing is, I'm trying to say here is it's just like, because those things exist, we got to talk about them. And so the thing is another form of sexual power. We would not come to talk about it if it did not exist in our midst. Do you think it's important to address such an issue? I think we must talk about it. I do not think a parent would encourage his or her child to be involved in such a thing. That is one of the reasons pornography is evil. I don't think a parent would ever sit down and say, let me educate you how to, to get involved in pornography. I don't think a parent would ever, say something like that to their child. Besides, it is not something that anybody should get involved in, whether to entertain from it, to promote it, to promote it by encourage others to get involved, that kind of stuff. Or perhaps to participate in it by using your body for its purpose unashamedly. Like you see other people pose in magazines, the one that you see in videos and those kind of stuff, I don't think anybody should get involved because it's really perverted. I do need to point out, something that seems clearly hypocritical when it comes to things of that nature, sexual perversions. Last time when we talked about homosexuality as a form of sexual perversion, which could be controversial in the way that is being accepted in our midst as normal. Okay, we talk about it as that acceptable. The position that is being promoted for such a thing, homosexuality, is the idea of human's right. That is, democracy gives the power to openly practice such a behavior, regardless of its evilness, distorted view, negative impact it brings to the human race. Democracy under the human right banner, you can do that. So I'm asking myself right now, is pornography also going to be under, also human rights? Would it be a human rights issue? Talking about pornography. Or is it going to be viewed as the vile things that it is? However, the hypocritical part of this thing concerning the government is the fact that such a thing is being rejected by this institution as opposed to homosexuality to be acceptable behavior among the society. Do you care to comment? See, the hypocritical things between this is the fact that, the government saying, okay, pornography is so bad. They're the one promoting that kind of thing. They're telling the parents to protect them. That's why they said, okay, or parental, guide, whatever. What do they call them again? Parental, guide or whatever, something when it comes to computer. So that means the kids will not go into the sites where they have, image or pornography images there. The government is promoting that. See, the government will not allow, anybody, from any school institution to talk about pornography, let alone to show it and, the graphic images, to what it. The government will arrest people, put them in jail if they find out you do that. But yet, you see the hypocrisy right here. So they consider this to be bad, to be vile, to be really wicked. And then they promote homosexuality. It's unbelievable. I have no words to tell you the truth. I'm just going to show you the hypocrisy there, and then that's it. Like I said, do you care to comment on that? You have any comments? Now, the whole reason about this lesson is to bring to you the mind of God concerning purity and the right way to live in this area of your life. When you do not have God's perspective of living in the obedience of His words, then sins, S-I-N-S, become inevitable of your life. Sinful behaviors, sinful desires, sinful activities, and the things that you seek after, and therefore become a stronghold in your life, whereas the devil that you hate so much becomes also your only voice that you can listen to. He has become right then your only father on the earth in the journey of your life. You follow? And here's what God's word says. In Romans chapter 6, verses 1-3, the Bible says, "What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin, that grace may abound? God forbid. How shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein? Know ye not that so many of us as were baptized into Jesus Christ, were baptized unto His death?" In other words, you're already dead to sin. You cannot live in sinful activities anymore. For those of you who's already been washed by the blood of the Lamb, okay, we're not talking about the ones that are yet to be born again. I hope that someone will take the step to do that today. As you're watching this program, it's not too early to give your life to Jesus. I don't need to give you a special invitation. My friend, there's a difference between God's way, your way, the world's way, whatever other ways. The difference is God's way is the one that leads to righteousness. And therefore, because of that, you would be in the same path with God. You will find His blessing, His protection, and His grace will be upon you. But when you are going to the other side, in other ways, in your life, you're on your own, my friend. So these verses are fundamentally reminders, the one I just read from Romans chapter 6, verses 1-3, of those of us Christians who have been washed, been cleansed by the blood of the Lamb, Jesus Christ. These verses can be also pathways to those who have not made Jesus their Lord and Savior, who are still living in sin, the Adamic sin, which opens all kinds of other sinful behaviors, such as pornography, homosexuality, etc. Can you truly say that you are safe from this sinful world? Is there hope for you in the afterlife world, the moment you depart from this world? What would your answer be the moment you stand in God's presence, concerning what you have done with your life, about his son Jesus Christ. I hope you can find the right answers for these questions on the other side without Jesus Christ. It's going to happen anyway. If you've been with me, you heard me, teach this lesson, you will hear me saying all the time that it's inevitable that everyone's going to go through the path of death, because the Bible says, "Thou shalt surely die." It's going to happen. So, are you going to wait until you get to that place where you're going to want to explain to God this and this and that? No, you're not going to wait. All right, my friend, I'm going to pause here, but before I pause, I'm going to read for you from this book again, Why Guilt After Sex. This is a book that I've written also. Like I said, this is the 3rd edition of it. Okay, get your copy now for this summer. Like I said, it's a good book. That is great for the summer. For those of you who are going to be involved in ministries, different type of ministries, whether revivals, outreach, boys and girls outreach, bus ministries, and also youth ministries, vacation Bible school, like short-term mission, going overseas and all those places. It's a good tool for you. For those of you who are youth pastors and ministers, you can use this for Bible study, small group Bible study, or for the whole congregation of your church, or for personal read. These are good tools. It's not about telling you what sex is all about. It's that type of thing. But he's talking about why guilt after sex is asking the questions. Why God, we should not be involved in that kind of sexual activities out there. Especially for those of you who have the aspiration to be married someday. Like I was talking earlier a while ago concerning boyfriends and girlfriends. You don't want to live your lives as you're married already. Okay, these are the things that this book can help you with, this type of situation in your life. And it's not about the guilt, whether or not you have it. Everybody's guilty, one way or another. But specifically, I could have said, why guilt after money? You could have just used any other one. So we center our focus on the word sexual sins. That's the reason why we ask the question. But it's some people have the question. I have had sex, most of my life. I never felt the guilt. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about because you've done that you have guilt. No, we're not talking about that. It's talking about a whole lot of other things. You got to read this book to see what's in it. So I'm going to read a passage from there. From pages 156 to 159, about like 4 pages. Okay, so just follow and then get your copy. You can see the whole thing. So talking about specifically today pornography. All right, let's read. Pornography and other sexual perversion. Okay, what is pornography? Well, to the best that I can describe it, I believe pornography is any type of sexual behavior that is being put in display for the sole purpose of entertaining self or others, whether private or public. It is a violation of the fundamental principle that unites one man and one woman in marriage relationship. Pornography has always been viewed as graphic, dramatic, and dangerous to society, that in the past it was not accepted as normal. And so it is now. The word pornography is difficult to define. Again, don't mind this scroll. In the past it was used broadly